So this happened over the summer of 2019, where I lived deep in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. I invited a couple of friends over to my house to spend the night. We decided to stay up that night outside listening to music with a bonfire. We were having a good time, but in the middle of all our fun, I thought I saw something in the tree line of my property. I didn't want to scare anyone, so I let it go. A couple of minutes went by and we heard a huge noise that sounded like sheet metal falling and hitting more metal from my neighbor's barn. Mind you, it was very late out. We all got scared by this. We ended up grabbing a couple of BB guns for protection. We came back outside and sat by the fire. About 10 minutes went by and then we heard what sounded like a dog whimpering from where we heard the bang. We all got even more scared. I decided to get my quad with my buddy on the back to look through the woods to try and find out what it was. When we finished circling the perimeter, he said he saw a shadow in the tree line, so I took my other buddy on the quad to see if we could see the same thing. After we got done, we met on the porch. They said they saw the shadow in the same spot. That was when I realized they saw the same thing I saw before. We lined up next to my barn with the BB guns and shot to where we heard the noise come from. About 2 seconds after we shot into the woods, we heard 5 to 6 very loud knocks on the barn and we immediately booked it inside. Those knocks were the scariest thing ever. Too deep to be made by a ricochet and too heavy to be made by a human. So we told my grandparents what had happened. They said it was nothing, so I got my grandpa to come outside. As soon as I walked outside, I heard a blood-curdling scream from the woods, the same area where the metal and dog noises came from. I was the only one who heard it as they were still inside. I ran back and after about 30 minutes of calming down, we all went back out with my dog. She would not go past the barn. She was looking in the woods, then ran inside. Things still happen in the woods to this day, and I'm too scared to go into my backyard alone. I was 16 at the time and my dog was about 8 months old. It was June 2019, and I was always enjoying taking my dog for a late night walk. We were heading down the path that led into the park when I noticed a putrid smell. It was so strong that my eyes started to water. I couldn't tell where it was coming from, but when I walked towards the bridge, the smell began to get stronger. As I got closer to the bridge, I saw a tall man slumped over by the bridge wearing an old suit with a lot of rips and tears. This immediately gave me the chills. I tried my best to act normal as I walked past him. My dog started to bark and growl at the man. She was in full attack mode and was trying everything in her power to break off the leash and go after that man. Even though pretty much anyone in the neighborhood probably heard my dog, the man did not move a muscle. As soon as I got my dog to calm down, the man turned around quickly and looked me directly in the eyes. He had a crazed look in his eyes, and it made me start to sweat. I started walking faster and tried to act like nothing had happened. Once I was halfway through the path, I heard heavy footsteps coming fast behind me. My adrenaline kicked in and I started running as fast as I could. I never looked back to see how close he was behind me, but once I got to the exit, I tripped on a large stick. Sounds pretty cliche, right? My thoughts at the moment were, doesn't this only happen in the movies? And why does this shit have to happen to me now? I looked up and saw the man charging at me at full speed when my dog pounced on him and just started biting at his face and arms. Keep in mind that my dog was only 8 months old at the time, so this really surprised me. The man eventually broke free from my dog and ran off with blood dripping from his cheeks and hands. I ran the opposite direction towards my house and had my parents call 911 and report what happened. I was still high on adrenaline, so I was having a difficult time explaining what happened to my parents. Once they saw the blood on my dog's face, they realized the severity of the situation. When the police talked to me and asked me a few questions, they immediately knew who it was. It was a wanted murderer who had murdered his wife and kids, a 17-year-old girl and a 20-year-old girl, all in cold blood. This happened almost 3 years ago. I was left home alone, just me and my dog. I was in the middle of watching TV when I heard a creak from upstairs. Okay, I started to think, maybe it's just my dog upstairs. 10 minutes passed and I heard another creak. Maybe she was just walking to her food bowl. Then I got up and walked into the kitchen, only to see her lying on the floor sleeping. I was baffled at how she could have gotten downstairs and laid down so quickly. Another 15 minutes passed and I heard another creak, only this time she was eating her food. That was when I started to worry. I've always hated how my house would make noise so easily. But usually my family, 2 younger brothers, 2 younger sisters, my mom and dad, would be the only ones making the noise. As the night progressed and I heard more and more creaks, I decided to grab a knife and tuck it away in my hoodie pocket. I called my dog over to cuddle. It was around 7 to 8 p.m. when I finally went upstairs to check what the noise was. It was already dark out, so I had to use my phone if I wanted to be sneaky and catch them. As my dog and I crept up the stairs, I heard something that made my hair stand on end. My mom's door had just closed. We always leave windows open as the heat in our house would always make upstairs feel like a sauna. I had closed them earlier so I couldn't have been the wind that had closed the door. When Dixie and I reached my mom's room, I pulled out the knife, readying myself. That was when I realized the vent. The vent was open. So naturally, I looked into the vent. But what I saw made my blood run cold. I was pretty sure I was seeing a man's face in the vent. My family came back 2 hours later after going out to grab dinner. I told my mom and dad what happened. The sudden creaks, how her door closed unnaturally, and the horrific face I saw that made me freeze in place before grabbing the knife in Dixie's collar and running to the living room. So my mom shook it off, and my dad made sure the kids got their food. I told myself it was just my imagination. It's been a long time, but I was never able to forget the horror I experienced that night. I recently moved out of that horrid house. That man will haunt my nightmares for as long as I live.